Yesterday, we delivered the breaking news that Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary who, lied professionally on behalf of the Democrats and the Biden administration, is writing a tell-all book. You saw all that yesterday. And the big takeaway, the big publicity getter for the announcement was the fact that she's no longer a Democrat. She's independent. And do you know what that means? That means Democrats don't feel the need to lie on her behalf and cover up for her and protect her anymore. Yep, she is a woman without a country. I'm sorry, she's a birthing person without a country. And the knives are out. It started this morning with Axios, ironically written by Alex Thompson, Jake Tapper's co-author. Take a look at this. One former White House official who worked closely with Jean-Pierre told Axios that she was one of the most ineffectual and unprepared people I've ever worked with. She had meltdowns after any interview that asked about a topic not sent over by producers. Hold on. I mean, that's a good headline. It's a great quote. Buried lead. Producers would send over topics to the White House press secretary before they had an interview with her? Hey, we'd love to have an interview with the White House press secretary, only if you tell us what you're going to talk about first. Well, we're going to talk about stuff going on at the White House and the Biden administration and policies and stuff. Specifically, we need specific topics sent to us or she's not showing up. And then apparently she bursts into a rage. If anybody on those TV shows dared to ask her a question that wasn't pre-screened, good God, I thought that was only the rule that Joe Biden got to enjoy. More from the Axios article. She didn't know how to manage a team, didn't know how to shape or deliver a message, or often created more problems than she solved, the official said. Hold on. She was the White House press secretary and communications director, and she didn't know how to shape or deliver a message. Maybe they should have, worked that out before they gave her the job. But of course, when she got the job, there were no huge magazine cover spreads and glowing television profiles and newspaper articles written up about her because she was great at shaping or delivering a message or managing a team. No, it was all the same thing. The first Black, openly gay woman. Oh, she's not gay, is she? Wasn't she bisexual? I lost track of which letter she was in the alphabet there. But either way, that's all that mattered. That's what it was all about. And nobody dared to stand up and say, is she good at what she does? Is she even competent at doing the job? No. In fact, if you ask that question, if you even raised the specter that maybe she was incompetent, you were racist, you were sexist, and you were a homophobe. Until today. Today, you can say all those things about her because today she's no longer a Democrat. It's amazing how beautiful the pattern of behavior here is. And they have no self-awareness at all. Why should they? They get away with it every time. We're the only ones who point it out. Former Biden communications official threw more wood on the fire. By the way, real fast, this person, like the other person, was identified as a White House official. This person is specifically identified as a communications official. That means this is someone who worked in her office, in the comms shop, either her peer or a subordinate. How beautiful is this? The hubris of thinking you can position yourself as an outsider when you not only have enjoyed the perks of extreme proximity to power, which bestows the name recognition needed to sell books off your name, but have actively wielded it from the biggest pulpit there is as breathtaking as it is desperate. It's difficult to see how this is anything but a bizarre cash grab. A source told Politico something pretty much the same, but a little pithier. Everybody sees this for the grift that it is. Of course it is. I mean, unlike Jen Psaki, her predecessor, who got a primetime cable show, The second Karine Jean-Pierre left the White House, nobody was giving her a cable news show because she could barely even read the binder in front of her. She's not going to figure out a teleprompter. She had no skill set. So now to sell books, she decides, I'm going to be independent. I'm no longer a Democrat. And now the Democrats have no reason to protect her anymore. They have no reason to lie about her anymore. This is glorious. If it weren't so cynical, sad, and frankly, pathetic. Another former White House, I love they're all coming out of the woodwork. Another former White House official, familiar with the dynamics, told Axios, I think this is Jill. I'm guessing this is Dr. Jill. The amount of time that was spent coddling Jean-Pierre and appeasing her was astronomical compared to our attention on actual matters of substance. Yeah, so, instead of doing the hard work of wiping the drool off Joe Biden's chin and explaining to him what day of the week it was, they had to spend time coddling and appeasing Karine Jean-Pierre. A former senior spokesperson in Biden's administration added, hold on, that narrows it down to like one person. I can only think of one person who was a senior spokesperson in the administration. That would be John Kirby. You remember, John Kirby would often conduct briefings to the media when the issue had to do with national security, foreign policy, the situation in Israel and Gaza, Ukraine, Russia, the hard stuff. Do you remember any other White House operating that way? You got your White House spokesperson. Oh, but if the big issue of the day has to do with the military or national security or foreign policy, here, we're gonna call in the righty from the bullpen. Come on in, John. We need a relief pitcher here in the seventh inning. No White House ever acted that way. Why did they have to do that with Karine Jean-Pierre? Why did we need to have the spokesperson for the National Security Council handle it? Because she was incompetent. So I'm guessing this former senior spokesperson in Biden's administration is, in fact, John Kirby. In fact, we've got more on the John Kirby dynamic coming up in a moment. Quote, it's hard to believe someone could look at the past year and genuinely think the party left Joe Biden. That's why I'm leaving the Democratic Party. Former White House communications official said today Karine lost the only constituency that ever supported her, party line Democrats. Jean-Pierre did not respond to requests for comment. I'm shocked. I would think she said, buy my book. Buy my book. Buy my book. I'm begging you, buy my book. Please. Buy my book. Buy my book. Despite longstanding internal frustration with Jean-Pierre's performance since she took over as press secretary in mid-2022. Hold on, what do you mean longstanding internal frustration? Why are we just learning about this now? See, this is what drives me nuts about the Alex Thompsons of the world and the Jake Tappers of the world, is that everybody said the same thing about her. Oh, she broke so many glass ceilings and she's so dynamic, and look at her outfits and she's so great on the red carpet and Vogue and the photo shoots, and she's so cute with her little mop top and she's great. And why is Peter Ducey so mean to her? And it's like, that's all you heard. But now apparently it's long-standing internal frustration over Karine Jean-Pierre. Since she took over as press secretary in mid-2022, Biden aides largely had stayed silent because she was seen as untouchable given her race and gender. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm just reading that in here. Given her close relationship with Joe Biden's top aide, Anthony Bernal. During Biden's presidency, Bernal had a hand in hiring many White House aides who were prioritized for their loyalty. Yeah, you always want to just prioritize people over their loyalty, not their competence. Absolutely stunning, amazing, wonderful to watch. And there's more. Alex Thompson, who wrote this story for Axios, says many quietly had fumed for years, believing she was. Oh, no, hold on. So if Alex Thompson, let's unpack this for a second, because again, this just drives me nuts. It's why you should buy my book and not their book. So Alex Thompson now says in his reporting that many quietly had fumed for years, believing she was incompetent at her job at the podium and more interested in promoting herself than Joe Biden. Now, he's stating that as fact that he has received as a reporter and now is conveying to you as a reported fact. he knows this in one of two ways. Either his source has told him this anonymously, and he's just repeating it, right? So, in other words, hey, Alex, a lot of us fumed for years. We thought she was incompetent at her job and she only wanted to promote herself. So Alex Thompson has a source that is telling him that, and he's just regurgitating it, right? And that source refuses to go on the record and put their name on the record, but Alex is just going to regurgitate it. And oh, by the way, isn't one of the major themes of the book he just wrote about Joe Biden's decline that the people in the White House lied to him and lied to Jake Tapper and lied to the other reporters and lied to you about Joe Biden? Now, can't we suppose and assume that this person who leaked this to Alex Thompson and gave him this little nugget is one of those people that also lied to him for years about Joe Biden, right? It's one of his White House sources. And yet here he goes again, just regurgitating it. How do we know this is true? How do we know he's telling the truth? Okay, so that's one way he knows this. One way he has this information is that a source who lied to him before is now giving him this information. He doesn't care. It doesn't matter if it's true. He just wants the clicks. Buy my book. All right. The other way that Alex Thompson would know this, there is another way. I told you there's two ways. One is from a source who we already know is probably a liar. The other way Alex Thompson knows that many quietly fumed for years, believing she was incompetent and only interested in promoting herself, is if he witnessed it firsthand, right? That's the only other way he would know this to be true. Either someone told him today, or while he was working as a White House correspondent for these very same years, he witnessed people complaining about her. And if that's the case, why is he just reporting it now? Why is he just reporting it now? Why didn't he report it then when he witnessed it? Either way, this is why people hate Washington, D.C. reporters. The other reason is because they refuse to even call themselves reporters anymore. They want to be called journalists. Oh, he's a journalist, don't you know? Biden aides largely had stayed silent because she was seen as untouchable, given her close relationship with First Lady, as was said in the report. Jean-Pierre also caused internal drama. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Jean-Pierre also caused internal drama by repeatedly blocking National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby from joining her at the White House podium, even when national security issues were at the forefront of the news. Remember, I just laid that out for you. Oftentimes, especially during the Gaza-Israeli conflict and the Ukraine-Russia conflict, John Kirby would man the podium. Apparently, that got under Jean-Pierre's very thin skin. And so she would often block him from coordinating or even attending these press briefings. In fact, according to Alex Thompson, one example that caused internal anger was when Jean-Pierre blocked Kirby because she had a final celebration of her time at the podium. They were doing a party in the briefing room for her last press briefing as Biden was out the door. And it just so happened that this was at the same time an Israel-Hamas ceasefire hostage deal was in the works. So the National Security Council wanted Kirby to go out there and deliver that message and field questions. And Karine Jean-Pierre said, no, because we're having a party for me. I believe that with every fiber of my being. I have no doubt that that's exactly what happened. Hey, it looks like we've got a hostage ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Yeah, sorry. Today's about me. Today's about me. Oh, this is glorious. Somebody who worked in the White House. This has been deleted, but this is someone who worked as I think, economic advisor in the Biden White House. Put this out there, captured it. He's deleted it. It was only out there for about an hour. From a White House policy staff perspective, the real problem with Karine Jean-Pierre was that she was kind of dumb. How do you really feel, Tim? No interest in understanding harder topics, just gave random incoherent answers on policy. So, I mean, again, this is not news to you because you watch this show, and we pretty much said the same thing every single day when we had video of her briefings. She was dumb. She couldn't put sentences together. She couldn't even, again, she had a binder with little cross tabs for every subject. And when a question came up, she would turn to the tab. She would then, most people who are press secretaries, communications people, PR people, or people in the media like me, we might have notes, even though I don't have notes in front of me. I just do this thing that you see me do. But sometimes you want to have notes. People have notes. I've worked with notes before. You got a couple of bullet point items. You've got the note. You're reminded of the bullet point item that you wanted to repeat. And then you use your brain and your ability to speak to convert that note into a message, and you deliver it. That's what people do. Not our gal, Karine Jean-Pierre, not Sideshow Bob head. She would pull the tab, turn it over, and then she would read verbatim exactly the script that had been written out for her to respond to the topic. Even though the question may have been on topic but wasn't directly related to her script, she would still just read the script. And even that she had trouble reading. She would stammer, she would stutter, she would skip over it. She was, in the words of a close confidant of mine, kind of dumb, with no interest in understanding harder topics, and just gave random incoherent answers on policy. That's exactly who she was. And we talked about it all the time here. And of course, we were accused of racism and sexism and homophobia and being a bigot and being a transphobe. She's not trans, is she? I just want to be clear. She's not like a full-on lesbian, though, right? She was bisexual, wasn't she? I can't remember. Anyway, she got the job and she broke the glass ceiling. And now she has made the fateful mistake of claiming that she is no longer a Democrat. And this book apparently is going to criticize a lot of Democrats for not standing by Joe Biden because, damn it, he was fully capable. Fully capable. All right. So, in the final year of the administration, the conflict between Karine Jean-Pierre and John Kirby became acute. And early in the year, when Joe Biden was still running for re-election, Karine Jean-Pierre, most people believe, was already planning her exit. He wins re-election, she backs out, she's done, she moves on to her Fortune 100 job or her cable news show, just like Jen Psaki got. Or he loses the election, ditto. She was the good soldier, she was loyal, she moves on to her Fortune 100 company or her cable news show. But to navigate this and to sort of push back against the infringement of John Kirby, because this is her final year to audition for her next gig. So she needs to be the shining light there. And Kirby is like muscling in on her territory. So it was rumored, and some people reported, that she had hired a publicist in New York to help her with her image, help promote her, and at times, it is believed, even helped craft some of the messaging that she would deliver at the podium. Now, that last part there is definitely against the law. That is a non-protocol way of doing things. If you've got an outside person consulting and working with you on any of your work product at the White House, that needs to be disclosed. It needs to be out front, like Elon Musk is a special government employee, right? They don't need to be a full-time federal employee, but this is a thing. Okay, only the president is allowed to take advice from people. Anyone else who's actually working with staff on an official, unofficial basis, that's got to be transparent. So look at this article. This is based on yesterday's book release, right? The announcement of Karine Jean-Pierre's book. New York-based publicist Gilda Squire worked informally with Jean-Pierre while she was in the White House and was on multiple occasions copied on official emails before staffers raised the issue. Another former official said Squire previously served as publicity director for HarperCollins Publishers and also did PR for Penguin Putnam Publishing, according to her LinkedIn. And Jean-Pierre was the subject of several lengthy profiles in lifestyle publications, including Vogue and Women's Health, and traveled to New York to appear on The View. The implication there, or Certainly the inference I'm getting is that because of the work of Gilda Squire, the New York-based publicist, she was able to get those Vogue stories and an appearance on The View and all of those things. And now, presumably, the book deal that she's landed. And at the time, she was copied on official White House emails and correspondence, which would be improper to say the least, if not illegal. But here's the really interesting thing. Alex Thompson, you remember him, Jake Tapper's co-author. Well, he's angry about this revelation that was in this. I think that was a Politico article that you just saw. He's really angry. According to Alex Thompson, hang on, the White House repeatedly told me that this was not true. Oh, hang on. There it is. That's what we're looking for. The White House repeatedly told me that this was not true back when I asked about Gilda Squire's involvement in February of 2024. So not only did the White House, and I love it's the White House. Who in the White House, Alex? So the same people in the White House who lied to you about Joe Biden's competence and lack thereof also lied to you about this publicist. I'm guessing it's Karine Jean-Pierre, right? Or people in the communications office. But they all told Alex Thompson, oh, that's not true. Gilda Squire is not, because this was a rumor. People were talking about this in D.C. Alex Thompson is trying to report on it. They denied it. Now Politico has confirmation of it. So now Alex Thompson is pissed. I mean, how many times do these people have to lie to you before you get the picture, Al? So now he's producing emails that he had with the aforementioned publicist, Gilda Squire. Says, if you don't tell the truth, off the record no longer applies, okay? Because here, in February of 24, he wrote this email. Hi, Ms. Squire. I hope you're well. I'm a reporter at Axios, and I'm planning to report that White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre has recently enlisted you to help her as she navigates this crazy situation with Kirby and the White House. My deadline is at 7 p.m. Do you have a moment? She replied, and she said, good evening. Nice to meet you. May I respond off the record? Thompson says, yes, you can. And she said, off the record, this is unequivocally untrue. Thank you. By the way, why does that have to be off the record? I mean, if it's not true, why not go on the record and say it's not true? And of course, the reason is because it was true. And so Alex is like, okay, that's it. You lied to me, so I'm not going to protect your anonymity anymore. Think about that for a minute. I'm going to take a sip of my Independent Women's Forum koozied soda here. Alex Thompson, reporter and one of the last good journalists, he just won an award for covering Joe Biden's health at the White House Correspondents Association dinner. Alex Thompson says that if you ask for anonymity and I find out you lie to me under that anonymity, then off the record no longer applies. My friends, his entire book is about how people at the White House lied to him. And in writing the book, as they now tell the truth, he is giving them anonymity. The people who lied to him, that he's making millions of dollars with. These people are soulless. They have absolutely no values and no principles. Megyn Kelly saw this exchange. God bless that woman. We love you, Megyn. Megyn Kelly saw this Alex Thompson exchange and said, hey, Alex, when you and Jake Tapper came on my show and said White House and Democrat sources were lying to you about Biden's mental acuity when you asked in 2023 and 24, those sources came clean post-election. So why don't their off-the-record defenses of Biden get the same treatment? Good question, Megyn. Still waiting for Alex's answer. I'll give you the answer, because now by protecting their anonymity, I can make millions on a book. That's why. Journalistic integrity. As usual, Scott Jennings summed up all of this last night on CNN.
I agree with you. I don't think she will, although I would argue that it's pretty disloyal to leave the political party that, gave you your biggest career shot that you've ever had. But I tend to agree with you. I mean, I think the things we've learned in the last 2 years is that the two least credible sources of information in this world are the Gaza Health Ministry and Karine Jean-Pierre. And when she puts this book out, every single person who reads it, reviews it, or discusses it needs to remember that virtually everything she said about what was going on behind the scenes in the White House was an outright lie. And so when she puts a book out, I think we ought to treat it from a source that has a proven track record of lying from the podium of the White House to the American people.
Amen. And I would only say, Scott, the thing that you couldn't say, and I understand why you can't, so I'm going to cut you some slack, but I will only add that also goes for Jake Tapper, my colleague here, every day in prime time on CNN, because what Scott Jennings just said about Karine Jean-Pierre absolutely goes for him as well. We knew these books were coming out. We knew all the lies would be exposed. We knew the disintegration was coming. But my God, I never realized how gloriously destructive this was going to be. I hope you're enjoying it.